Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today we will be talking about one of my favorite shows, Scooby Doo, while I play a Scooby Doo horror game on Roblox. So I kind of want to talk about like my favorite series and why, more specifically like my favorite iterations in the series. So I really do like the classic Scooby Doo, specifically for Halloween. There's just that kind of interesting vintage vibe to it because, you know, it came out in the 70s and stuff, and it has that whole kind of, you know, aesthetic to it because original Scooby Doo is very different than the more modern iterations of the show, and it's set apart. I also love the movies from the 80s, the animated ones. I really like Zombie Island. I really like Cyber Chase. Yeah, that's the name of that one, Cyber Chase. And then there's the other one I can't remember, but the other one's a Halloween special. I really do like them, and I think the reason I've always been connected to the show is because it uses such vibrant colors, but like the colors are more so on the characters rather than the scenery, and that's why it sets it apart. And I think I really do like that. And I don't know, I think that one is a solid one depending on what I want to watch. But then I kind of want to talk about the scandal that happened a while ago. So this was a few years ago, and keep in mind, I will not be talking about Velma until later in the video. So there was a thing a while ago about Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, and then Be Cool Scooby Doo. And I think people misunderstood the point of Be Cool Scooby Doo. And that was in Mystery Incorporated. It was this beautiful cinematic masterpiece with this like mystery aspect that was like all the mysteries that they had solved came together into one thing. And I think that's what was so amazing about it, is it took everything and it made every detail matter, you know? And I think that it was a really smart play, and it's still one of the most watched Scooby-Doo series of, like, our time. Like, it's enjoyed by almost every generation of Scooby-Doo fan because it's just such a good show. And I think the problem is Be Cool Scooby-Doo is also one of my favorite iterations of Scooby-Doo. And I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that if this goes viral in the little sub-community, but I would like to point this out. Be Cool Scooby-Doo was never supposed to be serious. Every episode followed a strict formula for a reason, because it was supposed to show their archetypes. And the reason they changed Daphne from, like, a lover girl to this, oh, I want to be funny archetype is because I think it would have helped the show better, especially when we're living in an age of feminism. No one would want to see a show where one of the characters is constantly falling in love every episode or is in love. Because really, like, while Daphne is great in a lot of series in Scooby-Doo, she's just the lover girl, and then Velma's the smart one. And in this one, it shows how Fred is overly ambitious. Daphne kind of tries to be the lighthearted relief. Velma's smart but constantly serious, and Shaggy and Scooby kind of don't change. They have their whole moments, and the skits in Be Cool Scooby-Doo are, like, so much more funny than the original show. And I don't know, I just find that, like, people took it more seriously than it needed to be. And I still love that show. I especially love the Halloween episode of the show. I can't remember if there's more than one, but the one Halloween episode is really good. And I honestly love October because you can go on YouTube and Boomerang and Cartoon Network will be streaming Scoobtober. And personally, as someone who grew up on Scoobtober on Boomerang, I loved it because every time I came home from school, I'd turn on the TV, turn on Boomerang, and it would be on. And, like, it's funny because we say I had cable, and believe it or not, like, I'm pretty young, so I doubt a lot of people would believe that I had cable TV. Because, we've moved on to streaming. I would say streaming stopped being a thing where I live in about 2019, somewhere in that zone. And I don't know. I just think that people really took it too far, because then a lot of people said that, like, oh, it would never live up to the masterpiece that was the iteration before. And I don't think that they tried to outdo Mystery Incorporated when they wrote Be Cool, Scooby Doo, because Be Cool, Scooby Doo was supposed to be this lighthearted version for kids. Like, it wasn't supposed to be the super serious, more dark, made for, like, middle schoolers and high schoolers kind of show. And that leads me into kind of the next topic, Velma. I think the reason Velma did so badly is it tried so hard to be this feministic, inclusive thing, and it failed so miserably. Because I think about the way that even in Scoob, when Scoob was wrote, the way they wrote Velma as this smart, intelligent woman, and she was a woman of color in Scoob, I think that worked, and the reason it worked was because it wasn't constantly shoving woke ideology down your throat, and, like, there's only so much to a point that I can actually accept. And honestly, on a show about kids solving mysteries with their dog, it should stay that way. It shouldn't be this argument of politics, and I think that's the reason so many people disliked it, because, like, it wasn't as good as the original shows, and people just felt that it kind of was a mockery of what it originally was, because Fred was this rich white guy, Daphne was superficial, and it kind of brought out their worst traits. And I know that, like I said, Be Cool, Scooby Doo brought out their worst traits, but it wasn't supposed to be serious, Everything they did was super serious, and it kind of ruined the show, and that's why it got the first and second season. And even then, I don't know if you heard, but it only got the second season because so many Scooby Doo fans were hate watching it. Like, and after that, it was done. And people were saying, oh yeah, eventually we're going to meet Scooby, guys. Like, we're going to meet Scooby. And then people were saying in this iteration, Scooby was supposed to be, what is his name? Shaggy's girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, that would have really not done well. Like, and I don't know. I just feel like, personally, the person who made that iteration had probably never seen the shows. I'm gonna be completely honest, and if they had, they missed the point, because it was supposed to be that no matter where you're at, you'll always find a monster, and it'll always be human. Like, it's always gonna be some human screwing something up for the sake of money, real estate, oil, because stuff like that happens all the time. But instead of people dressing up to steal whatever, it's actually just that they use dark money, they use loans, they use all this stuff. And I'm not going to get into personal political opinions, but I think that it's so, like, people missed the point of the show. It was supposed to be a fun, lighthearted show where kids go around in their vans solving mysteries. And I loved the conspiracy theories for the original, like, show that, like, during the I think it was the Vietnam War. I'm not 100% on that. When we went to war with Vietnam, like, they were draft dodgers. That was an interesting theory. Like, I could see it, but at the same time, if that were the case, there were plenty of other teenagers and stuff that they had seen, and I just feel like, personally, it's a good show, and, like, all of the iterations have their special place, but for me personally, I would never watch Velma because I think it was a mockery of the original show, and I know a lot of Scooby-Doo fans feel that way as well. And, wrapping it up here, thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you want. I will see you guys in the next video. And those are kind of just my thoughts, because I know that no one's really been making Scooby Doo content recently. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.